Welcome to another Mayoral Monday here on The Point as the 2027 campaign takes another turn. A major likely candidate inches closer toward announcing. So tonight, we check in with the runner-up from the last election, Paul Vallas, who's here to get to the point.
From Chicago's very own, with WGN political editor Tamon Bradley, this is The Point.
Good evening. Paul Vallas has touched nearly every corner of Chicago government over the past 4 decades. He served as budget director and CEO of schools under Mayor Richard M. Daley. And he went on to his own political career, including a run for governor in 2002 and making the mayoral runoff 3 years ago. Paul Vallas, welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me.
Really nice to have you here again. Secretary of State Alexei Janulius released 2 new TV commercials today highlighting his record. He's expected to easily cruise to re-election in November, but his campaign still felt the need to spend money delivering this message.
As Secretary of State, we demand better. We made it faster and easier to go to the DMV, but we made it harder for Trump and ICE to violate your rights, to hurt women, to ban books.
Dad, who is that? And why is he in our kitchen?
That's Alexei Janulius. He's everywhere fighting Trump.
He demands better.
Is that mint chocolate chip?
All right, so first of all, Paul, rate that ad.
Oh, I don't know how much you paid for it, but I mean, if it's a campaign ad for mayor, because I don't even know who he's running against in this. I didn't see that. You're supposed to know that.
No, I'm supposed to know. No, but so he's running for re-election as Secretary of State.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, it's, he may not want to enter the mayoral fray, but he may have to. Petitions start to circulate in 2 weeks, right?
Well, I really think what that commercial is it's a commercial to push his name recognition rather than to delve into the substance of the issues, And so of course you have the buzzwords Trump and deciding what children should read in libraries or for that matter ICE, so you hit those buzzwords, but I think it's really designed to boost his name recognition.
There's a lot in his past to mine, Paul. You had a similar experience where your opponents tried to tie you to your past decisions made at the city, decisions made about the schools, you're running other school districts. What's the potential danger for him as you look at some of the stuff that has come up in the past about him? Yeah, well,
I don't think I'm at the point where I'm ready to talk about individual candidates and their specific past. It's too early in the process. And what we've done since my election, as you know, we helped create the Urban Center, and we've been very active in local school board elections, as well as obviously we were very supportive of Eileen O'Neill Burke during the last election.
But you're interviewing mayoral candidates, so
right.
Who did you talk to? How did that go?
We talked to virtually, everybody who's announced or who has had their name out there. And we've done it with the express purposes of to get a sense of where they are and really to educate them on the issues. So we've been talking to Janulius and Mendoza and many others, John Kelly and others, Jamal Green, who's contemplating to run again, Willie Wilson, really to talk about issues more than anything else. So, so I'm not prepared to start critiquing the candidates yet.
What are you in the Urban Center sort of looking for? What do you want in a next mayor?
Well, we're looking for a mayor who basically understands what the issues are. So, for example, where are they on the financial crisis? Where are they on the Chicago public schools? Because so much of the school problems contribute to the city's problems. I mean, the city is providing the schools with massive subsidies, despite the schools' inability to really improve the quality of educational choices. Where are they on crime? Where are they on public safety? Where are they on the whole equity issue? I mean, do you realize that Chicago and the state of Illinois have the highest taxes in the country, but yet so much for the progressive agenda? Illinois ranks 50th when it comes to equity by every economic indicator, every major economic indicator. If you're black and you live in Chicago, you live in the state of Illinois, according to Wallet Hub, it's the worst place to live compared to states like Texas and Florida. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed. Where are they on pension reform? So, so far, the only candidates who have really, or potential candidates who have begun to touch on these issues are people like Mendoza, and of course Quigley and a few others. So all the candidates, what we want to do is to know where they are on the issues, whether they're willing to take on the Chicago Teachers Union, which I think has really done so much damage to the city of Chicago, not to mention the schools, and hope and to educate them on what we feel the pathways are to addressing the city's critical needs.
So to do this, of course, this will all be explored at debates and forums. I'm wondering if you think those help the process, or if they trip people up, because I would imagine we're going to have 1 million of them this fall and winter.
The problem with these forums is you've got to answer the questions in a minute.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get 90 seconds. It's like, oh my God, 90 seconds? But so you're literally responding to every answer as if you're tweeting something. So if anything,
maybe not the best format for you, but you somehow made the runoff.
Yeah.
How did you do that? You sort of honed in on a single topic, basically.
Well, I focused on financial issues. I also obviously
crime, I remember.
I also focused on public safety, and I think public safety was the biggest issue. I tried to make the case based on my experience that it was the most qualified, but what I found during the campaign was that even the mainstream media really didn't dig deep into someone's past. I mean, anybody who wanted to know my background could have just read all the editorials that have been done since the mid-1990s and things like that. But I didn't see them doing a deep dive on the issues. And what happens in these political forums is the political forums almost become a great equalizer, because you have a minute. You have a minute to respond to critical questions, and in a minute you can't really distinguish between someone who has mastered the issue and has solutions and those who are just winging it with campaign slogans.
The numbers show an overall drop in crime under Mayor Johnson. I'm wondering if you think then that the financial issues will be the leading issues in this campaign, more so than crime. There's a lot more discussion of crime last time.
Well, I think crime's still going to be an issue because, Chicago still leads the nation in murders, attempted murders. It leads the nation in mass shootings. It leads the nation in youth murders. Last year, there were 42 children who were murdered.
You're talking per capita, or are you talking overall?
I mean, I'm talking about in aggregate numbers. There, we lead, and in aggregate numbers, we lead the nation.
It's a 60-year low, though.
It's a 60-year low nationally. And let me tell you,
it's a 60-year low since the overall number of homicides reached the lowest.
Yeah, but the point that I'm making is it's returned to the homicide levels in between 2000 and between 2011 and about 2000, the last 2 or 3 terms. The point that I'm trying to make is crime is still an issue, okay? There's a question on whether or not they're underreporting. Clearly, crime is an issue in some of the poor communities. I mean, look, last year, 100...
There's polling that says people feel safe in their community, and overall they feel good about the city. I mean,
they feel safer. But, I think people do feel safer. But the bottom line is I think crime remains an issue. I think property taxes are going to be a major issue. The mayor has talked about holding the line on property taxes, but last year alone, property taxes on residential property rose $567 million, because with the depressed state of commercial property values, there's a dramatic shift in property taxes to residential and commercial. I mean, to residential rental
we explored that in the assessment
Plus,
contest.
The Chicago Teachers Union, the schools continue to raise property taxes to the cap, and the tax increment financing district continues to increase property taxes.
I wonder, just in the circles that you travel in, if you have a sense of who the wealthy, politically active folks in this city are backing or want to back.
Well, I think the business community is still somewhat hesitant. Clearly, the unions are, I think, they're betting on Janulius. I mean, somebody said, well, the unions raised you $9 million in the last election. I said, yeah, only in the wrong March. I mean,
right. You got it in the runoff. You needed it a year.
I got it in the runoff. I didn't get a year ahead of time. So clearly, they're casting their bets on Janulius. I don't think the business community is ready to commit to a candidate soon. But they're clearly trying to raise money to kind of clear the field.
Not a lot of time left. But, you talk to people privately. There's a sense that Johnson is stronger than the polling suggests.
Yeah, I suggest you're right, that he could easily end up being in a runoff. But, Willie Wilson, I believe, is going to run again. And, of course, you have a couple. There's actually 2 or 3 other black candidates who are going to enter the race. And remember, the black vote constitutes about 26% of the electorate. So it's, but You can't underestimate Johnson. He's certainly going to. He's trying to follow the Mamdani script, and he's certainly going to try to play to his.
I've got about 15
base.
seconds left.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about you. If you see that no one sort of catches on, might you enter this contest?
Probably not. Look, I'm growing a beard. You know, I don't think.
Sure sign that you're not running. If we see that you shave and lose a little bit of weight, that would be.
That's right. That's right. And obviously, I've been trying to.
Not suggesting you need to, but that's a sign that somebody's thinking of running for office.
Yeah.
Paul Vallas, really appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we are back in 60 seconds. Another turn in the Chicago parking meter saga. A key city council committee delayed a vote on a proposed transfer of the lease. Budget Chairman Alderman Jason Irvin called on his colleagues to pump the brakes on the pending deal between the current owner of the parking meters and a New York investment firm. Irvin instead supports the city creating a trust to buy back the meters. It's not clear what the council will do next. The current deadline to approve the deal is July 24th. If the city rejects the lease transfer, it could face a lawsuit. We also learned today the city made 3 secret bids to buy the meters back last year before walking away. And tonight, a tip of the hat to Courtney Storer, NWBZ. Courtney is the culinary visionary behind the hit TV show The Bear. You know The Bear. It's that comedy drama about chefs in Chicago. WBZ caught up with Courtney about her work coaching the actors on how to be chefs. And our old friend Tom Skilling played a special role in the final season. He's giving a behind-the-scenes look tonight on the news at 9 o'clock. And that is The Point. Switch over to WGN Plus for the forecasters up next. And I'll be back for the news tonight at 9 and 10. See you later.